Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be looking at carbohydrate basics. So we're going to be talking about monosaccharides or monomers and the different types of glucose that you find, namely alpha and beta glucose. Now, this is one of the series of videos that I've done on carbohydrates under the umbrella of biological molecules, and that's a big topic that you study at A-level. So this video is aimed at those studying the A-level biology syllabus as opposed to those studying at GCSE, but it's still interesting should you choose to watch it. Now let's start with the most basic principle, and that is that most carbohydrates are polymers. Now polymers are long complex molecules composed of long chains of monomers. So monomers are like the small basic molecular units, if you like. It's not just carbohydrates that follow this particular fundamental idea. Proteins and nucleic acids are also polymers. So let's just give an example. Let's say that we have a brick here. Say a brick. Let's just imagine this is a chain of molecules. We've got red one here, blue. Just for the sake of argument, for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to colour each one in very roughly. Put a yellow one in. Finally, let's put a purple one. So we've got a chain. So here is our chain of monomers. Now a monomer, let's just be clear about the definition here. The monomer is a small, very basic molecular unit. Now in this example, each one of these blocks represents a monomer. So this purple block could be an example of a monomer, a single basic molecular unit. Now for carbohydrates, the monomer, the single unit that we're referring to, is the monosaccharide. So in this video we're going to be referring to monosaccharides, which are single, small basic molecular units. When they join together we form disaccharides, di meaning two, and ultimately we form a chain or a polysaccharide. Now in that instance we have what's called a polymer. So we should just start as well by defining a polymer. So we said they were large, complex molecules, so large complex molecules, and they comprise of long chains of monomers. So we'll just put that information in there. Comprise of long chains of monomers. So in other examples we could say that each of these blocks were, if we think proteins, the whole block, this whole chain could be a protein or a peptide chain if you like, and each block would be an amino acid. In this video and in this example, what we're saying is that each block represents a monomer and the whole chain represents, so all of this represents a polymer. So we've got some basics there, and then we said that examples of monomers include the monosaccharides. Now carbohydrates are made from monosaccharides. They all contain the elements carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So that's a key thing. They contain three elements: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So in exam questions, if you're looking for factual bits of information to relay about carbohydrates, refer to this, that they all comprise of these three key elements. So these biological molecules contain these three elements: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now let's talk about glucose more specifically. So let's shrink the screen ever so slightly, because what I'm going to do now is just insert a picture of what's called alpha glucose. Now, glucose, first of all, is a hexose sugar. That means a monosaccharide with 6 carbon atoms in each molecule. So we'll just make a little note of that by the side. So glucose, specifically, let's make a little note. So it's a hexose sugar, and that means it has 6 C atoms, 6 carbon atoms within its structure. Now, there are 2 types of glucose, alpha or beta, and these are the symbols we use. So this one here for alpha, this one here for beta glucose. Now, they're what's called isomers. Now, they have the same molecular formula as one another, but the atoms are connected in a slightly different way. So let's just make a note of that keyword here. So alpha and beta glucose are what are called isomers of one another. Same molecular formula, but they're just connected slightly differently. Now, you do have to know both types of glucose for the exam, but luckily there's only one difference between them. So let's take each one in turn. Let's take the alpha glucose. So this is our alpha glucose molecule here, this image that I've drawn on the bottom left. So let's count up the carbons first of all, because we said there were 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Careful, it's not at that point where you might suspect. So there are 6 carbons. But the only bit that really matters in this point is here. Alpha glucose has the hydrogen at the top of this image. So the hydrogen for alpha glucose is here, and the OH, the hydroxyl group, is on the bottom. For beta glucose, that is completely reversed. So for beta glucose, if we were to draw, rather than drawing the whole image again, if I just draw this portion out here, so just where I put the green brackets, if you like. So I've just drawn that out for the beta glucose. We'll just separate that off for a moment. But you'll notice what I've done is swap these 2 around. I've got the hydroxyl group this time at the top and the hydrogen at the bottom on this image. That is simply the difference between the alpha and beta glucose molecules. So alpha has the OH at the bottom, the beta has the OH at the top. That's the only difference between the 2, and that's all you'll be asked in an exam. So there we have a very simple, straightforward video on some carbohydrate basics, monosaccharides, and the different types of glucose. So carbohydrates are made from monosaccharides, and monosaccharides are monomers, small basic molecular units. They join together via condensation reactions, and I have spoke about that in a separate video in this series, to form a polymer, so large complex molecules that comprise of long chains of monomers. And we've said that the monosaccharide ultimately contains 3 elements here, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. And when we look at the 2 structures of glucose, we've got alpha glucose and beta glucose. Both are isomers of one another, which again means they have the same molecular formula, but the atoms are connected differently. They both contain 6 carbon atoms, so they're both hexose sugars. The only difference between alpha and beta is the position of the H and the OH on the right-hand side of this structural formula that we've drawn out here. So in other videos, we're going to talk about condensation reactions, hydrolysis reactions, and a bit more about the bonding you get between monomers to form, ultimately, polymers. Okay, hope all that helps.